Yeah, two patties and two pickles. Yes, exactly. That's the same for every Big Mac. Guys, hold on a second. It's I just I'm on break from my duty here at McDonald's, and I want to thank you so much because I was able to find a job here in Turkey at McDonald's because of you. So thank you for that. I put this tweet out earlier on today, and somebody reached out to me saying, "Yes, we do hire 16-year-olds," which I was shocked by. So yeah, thank you for your help. It was good because I can now earn some money while my altcoins are down 50%. So yeah, it's beautiful. I can get a passive income to buy the dip today with my $9 an hour. And I'm excited because, well, not in a good way because Bitcoin is down to 57 again. And things are looking a little bit concerning. So, jokes aside, I hope you're having a beautiful day. It's Independence Day, so try and spend some time with family if you can. Don't worry too much about Bitcoin. But if you are watching this video, which you are, because, well, yes, you are watching this video, then we'll talk about why this is happening to Bitcoin, why they're doing this to us, and why are we dumping, and if the bull market is over. So let's get this question out of the way. Bull market is not over. Okay, bull market is definitely not over. We're far from having the bull market over by like $10,000, but it's still far away. Okay, it's still like 20 or 10 more percent away from if we look at it in terms of a correction from the all-time high. And I'll get to that in a second, but just as a lesson for the future, if you see any asset that trades in a particular range, right, and then gives you hope at the end of the range that, okay, look, we could be heading back up one more final time, but eventually gives you a massive shooting star candle. That's your opportunity to get out of that asset. Go get out, get your money out and pack away and go because as soon as you come back down to that support, the chance of you breaking below is very high. Okay, because this is called despair. When an asset, in terms of a technical standpoint, if you have a retest back to the support from failing to go back up, that's called despair, and you're likely going to correct a lot more. So that's just a lesson for the future. But currently, we need to move on and look at what's happening today. I think Bitcoin is going to go to the moon. Yeah, I think it's gonna happen. It's just not gonna go upwards. It's just gonna go to the moon, going down, or maybe to hell. Who knows? Who knows? And where would that hell target be for Bitcoin? I think ultimately that's between 47 to 53K, and there are so many signs pointing to that range, which I'll talk about in the next 2 to 3 minutes, or even 4 minutes of this video. The first thing is Consensio. If you've been watching the moon shows and the channel for the past 2 to 3 weeks, I've been saying that, look, I'm scared about Bitcoin. I'm scared because we have Consensio, which is the 3, 10, and 30 SMA, all crossing bearish at the same time. The last time Bitcoin did this, and after such a massive run, was during the 2021 all time high tops. And the tops were indicated by the 3 and 10 moving averages crossing into each other. And the 30 moving average, which is the 30 which is the orange line, that was your final opportunity to exit the market before we went down even more. And this time round, instead of having the 30 SMA as like a warning sign, which comes in a lot later, that was pretty much very close to the other two moving averages. And that gives you just the kind of outlook that Bitcoin went up too fast. The 30 SMA was attached very closely to the other moving averages, and them crossing bearishly all at the same time is a massive warning signal. So over the past 2 weeks, I have been deleveraging. I have been taking profits on my long position to the point where even if Bitcoin comes down to 47K, I'm pretty much break even, right? Because we've been buying Bitcoin since 43. If you go back to our old videos, we had a massive inverse head and shoulders pattern that we bought in at 43. So if we look at it in that perspective, we were so bullish there. Bitcoin is up like, another 10, 12 grand from that point onwards, and we're still very worried now. And yes, that's just market psychology, but we should be very happy. So now that we're breaking below this lower Bollinger Band, which I've been speaking about for so many months, it feels like so many months at least, whenever we have a huge consolidation period for Bitcoin in a Bollinger Band, it's a massive indication that eventually when you break the upper or lower Bollinger Band, you will get a large move, either by 20%, 25%, depends, but you will get a very large move. And the confirmation for Bollinger Bands is that on the 40 time frame, if that candle closes below the lower Bollinger Band or upper Bollinger Band, depends on where you are. In this case, it's the lower one, unfortunately. Then you will go down significantly lower in the upcoming candles. Now, in approximately 57 hours, if Bitcoin confirms this close below the lower Bollinger Band, then I'm expecting us to go back down to 53 to 47K, which is not the end of the world. It's not the end of the bull market. It's just a massive possibility, right? There is still a chance that Bitcoin bounces from here, it keeps this range, and we create some sort of bull flag. But it looks like we have a McDonald's pattern, and and that Bitcoin will likely close below this lower Bollinger Band. And why am I saying 47 to 53? Well, another reasoning to the kind of just price action support that we have in the previous bull market, you can see multiple tests in the first half, finding support, finding resistance. The same thing goes in the second half of the bull market. Apart from the price action alone, and I love this one. I love these two, the post ETF and prior to the massive dump kind of tests to the 47K area, is that we have a huge volume gap between 53.5 and 60K. Now, what is a volume gap? What does this mean? Well, you see, at 60K, there was a lot of people wanting to buy Bitcoin. That's called demand, right? And in this range, until at least 53K, you see that there isn't much volume, there isn't much interest in this area. So when an asset enters that kind of gap in terms of demand, then you fall through it pretty quickly because nobody wants to buy or sell in that range. So you just fall down very quickly and hit the next level of demand support, which sits at 53K to 47K, at 47 being the most, or 45 actually being the most amount of demand. So I think that if now, because it's Independence Day, markets are closed, we're going to be a lot slower. But going into the Monday open next week, then probably if Bitcoin continues this bearishness and we cannot rebound, that's where we're looking at for Bitcoin. Another reason is that Bitcoin lost the 23.6 Fibonacci. Now, the next level of very important support in terms of Fibonacci retracement sits at 38.2, and that's at 51K. And keep in mind, 38.2 is a lot more stronger than 23.6. So another kind of confirmation that we'll probably end up bottoming between 47 to 53K if we're not ending the bull market, of course. And the final thing that we can see on this chart is that the target of the breakdown of this massive ascending triangle, which we were super, super bullish on. It's such a shame that we decided to break down. That lies at 47, 48K as well at the same time. Now, I'll get into other reasonings very shortly, but I just want to say that even if Bitcoin does correct down to those levels, it's not the end of the world. I mean, if Bitcoin goes to 47, that's a 35% correction. If you go back to 2017, in just a 1 month candle, Bitcoin fell down by 40%. 40%. It fell down from $4,000, $5,000, all the way down to $3,000. Can you believe it? Like, you would probably be very upset if that happened to Bitcoin back in 2017. But no, Bitcoin continued to rally, right? It continued to rally and eventually hit $20,000. So it doesn't matter. In a bull market, you can have 40% corrections and it will not change anything. And respectively, this would be a 35% correction. So it's okay. The parabola is being broken right now, but you can change the parabola. You can shift it to the right so that it matches the price action. So don't worry. And I think that there's three different levels in terms of moving averages that would help us support that parabola and make sure that we don't break below it. Because if we do break below, again, 48 to 49, 47K, then I think the parabola is broken and we enter into a prolonged bear market. And if we go back in history to parabolas in 2017 and 2020 to 2021, you can see that the ATMA, which is the blue line, the 13 EMA, which is the white line, and finally the 21 EMA, they all tend to create support for the parabola, right? Most of the candle bodies, or the bodies itself, they are held up by the ATMA. If we break below by any chance, then you see a retest of the 13 EMA. And then finally, right, the wicks, they come down to, if they make it that far, they test the 21 EMA. When you break below them, that's when the bull market ends. That's when you enter into a bear market, which is exactly what happened in 2018. Even in this 30K bear market that everybody called, they were so worried, oh my God, Bitcoin's over, yada, yada, yada. Bitcoin managed to hold the 21 EMA and make it even higher, going to $69,000. So I think the kind of final dispute will be determined if Bitcoin breaks below 48, 47, and then we say, okay, Bitcoin's in a bear market. but the likelihood of that happening is very low. I think Bitcoin could definitely retest them, but us going lower is a very minor possibility. The final reasoning to why I think that level is a beautiful buy the dip opportunity and why I think Bitcoin will bottom there is because on the 2 month time frame, firstly, we had two back-to-back reversal candles, not a good sign. We had an MRI top, which predicted the 2021 all-time high perfectly. I think that if we continue closing below the body of the previous reversal candle, then Bitcoin can retest the ATMA, which is 49K on the 2 month time frame. The parabolas they hold them up beautifully back in 2021, 2020. So it does the same in 2017, 2018 as well. So those are my reasonings to why I think Bitcoin will go down to those levels and why it will be a beautiful buy the dip opportunity. And if you can get yourself a job at McDonald's, like I did very smartly, then you can make some passive income to buy the altcoin bottom and buy the Bitcoin bottom. But I think starting to buy today is probably your best play. That's at least what I told my dad to do. I'm not financial advice, and I told my dad, look, this is not financial advice. But if you start buying today, instead of trying to time the bottom, because we don't know if that's going to be at 47, 48, 51, 53, it could be at any point. If you just DCA, then you know that you're getting a nice average and very close to the bottom. So that's what I'm doing. But there is a question, right? There is a question that everybody's asking, apart from if the bull market is over. Why isn't Bitcoin mimicking the stock market, right? The stock market is making all time high after all time high. We're above 5,500. Gold is even going up. The Dixie is falling down, for God's sake, which Bitcoin is inversely correlated to. So why isn't Bitcoin tracking any of these indices? And the reason for this, I think, is because Bitcoin, number one, is not being treated as a risk off asset just yet. We're not that mature. We're not that mature yet. So we are a risk on asset. And in a time of massive political uncertainty in the US and domestically and also internationally, a lot of people are expecting World War III, God forbid, but it is a possibility on the table. Then, to hedge yourself, you're going to buy gold and you're going to buy energy stocks, which the S&P is currently massively controlled by, which is why it's going up. And you're probably not going to want to park your money in the dollar because, well, the US is in a very, very tricky position with what's going to happen with the presidency. So nobody wants to trust the dollar. Nobody wants to trust the stock market in general. Energy stocks are carrying it, but tech stocks have fallen down. Apple has gone down. Tesla's going up, but yeah, it's a bit tricky there. And certainly not Bitcoin, right? You don't want to trust Bitcoin. So you're going to park your money in Japanese yen, which is going up by crazy amounts. You're probably going to want to park your money in bonds, not US bonds, but probably other bonds. So and gold, right? Gold and silver. Bitcoin has not got into the level of gold and silver yet, but eventually, I think in 10 years we will. And once that happens, then Bitcoin is going to be a risk-off asset. But right now, it is the first equity or first kind of uh, you know it's just the first thing to go down during uncertainty because Bitcoin is open 24/7. When there's bearish news, it gets affected first. When there's bullish news, it gets affected first. So there will be a time where people will treat Bitcoin as the way to hedge themselves against all the problems of the world, but that time isn't today. I hope that explains why Bitcoin is not acting the way it should be compared to other indexes. And if we do go into traditional markets very quickly, I think that the S&P is having a massive top, right? Momentum is topping out, huge bearish divergence on the weekly and monthly timeframes. So is the Nasdaq 100, right? We have an MRI top, and we have a huge divergence on the CMF, which looks at the total money flowing in to the index. So not much is looking good. And keep in mind, I don't think that this is a bull market. By the way, I think that currently we're in an accumulation phase, but Bitcoin is not in a bull market. We don't enter a bull market until we confirm a breakout, a solid breakout from the prior all-time high. We've not done that yet, so I think Bitcoin is still in an accumulation phase, and we're nowhere near a bull market top. Let's go into some on-chain data because there are reasons why Bitcoin is dumping today and over the past 48 hours, and most of that is fueled by the German government. So they sold 175 million dollars, and it's not like MicroStrategy buying Bitcoin or the U.S. government selling their Bitcoin. Germany just dumps Bitcoin like that, right? It's like it's not into multiple different wallets. It's not ODC. They just dump their Bitcoin to the market mostly, and that is a concerning thing because if you dump 175 million like that, um, the market is going to get impacted. So yes, it was a little bit concerning. That's probably why we dumped a little bit more today. And Justin Sun, His Excellency Justin Sun, he said that, look, I will be willing to buy the Bitcoin off of you, OTC, just don't impact the market. And if we look at the total like UTXO, which looks at the different cohorts of individuals that have been holding Bitcoin for a particular period of time and who's actually selling their Bitcoin, we saw that the 5 to 7 year holders, so like massive, massive holders or hodlers of Bitcoin, they decided to sell when Bitcoin was at 60. So they took profit and then boom, down goes Bitcoin. And now that Bitcoin is at a level where, a lot of short term investors are at a break even or at a loss, they've also sold. So the 3 month to 1 month cohort, they've also sold their Bitcoin, the short term holders. And it's concerning because the long term whales, they have a massive profit. So it makes sense if the market is looking like a very toppy phase. It makes sense for them to decide to go ahead and sell and take some profit. But the short term holders, they're just scared of capitulation and liquidation. So they probably sold off to raise some capital. And who else is selling? It's the poor miners. The poor miners, they have to sell their Bitcoin as well because, well, after the halving, their profitability went down by half anyways, right? So their profitability got cut by half. And the price of Bitcoin isn't acting like it should have been compared to previous cycles because, usually you have the halving and then boom, Bitcoin goes parabolic. So because that's not happening, miners can't make much money. Ordinals are pretty much dead. So they need to go ahead and take profit. They're sending their Bitcoin to exchanges to realize their profits. And all the retail miners, they're going to exit, right? Miners are still capitulating. And that's the reality of the situation. But all of that fear brings opportunity because, like Warren Buffett says, when there is fear, that is the time to buy. When there is greed, that's the time to sell. And if we look at the total fear in the market, I mean, we're at the levels where we were in September. And in September, Bitcoin was at 30K. So we're up like $25,000, but people have the same amount of fear. So I think it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to DCA, in my opinion. And I think it's important to not lose that opportunity. And I just want to end it off with politics. I don't want to say too much. It's a very shaky time in the U.S. And currently, we can see that on poly market, Donald Trump has the most likelihood of winning, right? And the thing that shocked me the most, I will get into this article that says that Donald Trump wants to use Bitcoin as a reserve currency, which is false. Um, the thing that shocked me the most in terms of politics is that a lot of far left media, including MSNBC, ABC News, the Wall Street Journal, they all turned against Democrats in a 360-degree angle. Like it's crazy, or 180-degree angle. These are far left media, right? If far left media stop supporting their own party, then oh my god, it's like far left conservatives saying that, oh my god, okay, now we're not supporting Trump anymore. It's crazy. It just shows the kind of worriness of the situation. And just to link it back into crypto, people are saying that Trump wants to use Bitcoin as reserve currency. No, that's not the case. This Forbes article is super misleading because Vivek Ramaswamy, which is somehow affiliated with Trump because they're in the same party, once said that they would want to back USD with gold, silver, and maybe at some point Bitcoin. So this is not true, but yeah, that's the entire market rundown. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a long video, but I just wanted to give a full recap of what's happening in the market, and I hope you enjoyed it. But guys and girls, enjoy the rest of your day. It is Independence Day, and it is a long weekend if you're in the U.S. So enjoy that with family. Don't worry too much about Bitcoin. It will do what it will do, and next week hopefully we'll have the Ethereum ETF approved, and we'll see how that will impact the market as well. So guys, take care, have a great day, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye.